pop your blue token installed to help.
Keep him in the background if we need to raid someone. We've immediately got someone online. Right. Welcome in. So, today I'm going to discuss a few things. This particular opening is a bit of prep I've been working on. Now, the original game that this came from was the A2600 from Belgium, and I was skipping ahead a move. I skipped ahead a move of myself, and this Rosso Gambit idea, okay, it's going to come in more often than not, because on all courses, on all Rosso Gambit courses so far, this is the current move, and it kind of needs to be played. Yeah, in the two games that I've got on the Masters database here, they're the two moves that we can see. However, neither of them are good. If you're in the League Chess database, 5,000 games with this move, 5,000 games with this move. And I was discussing this with someone earlier. They reckon that they play this in this position. However, anyone that's done a course, or anyone that doesn't fully understand what this position's about and they're just following moves, will more than likely play that. The reason that has to come in is because you've got obvious tactics here with a fork, yeah? So that is a move that needs to be played. You notice this play, yeah, if people are playing this against you recently, this is why I'm doing it. I'm pretty sure Levy Rosman's done a course on it. I'm pretty sure Levy Rosman promotes this, or the chess nerd as well, Zach. I'm pretty sure he likes F5. But if you follow the correct continuation from a computer, all prep puts you here, and then the choice people have is this or this. And anyone that's followed the course is playing this, right? And if you notice, Black's development is still actually quite poor, and that diagonal is screaming to be used, as is this one. It really doesn't look like Black can move soon unless he starts thinking a bit more about king safety and a little less about following a course. Yeah? So, my personal opinion here is you just castle. Just castle. And hope for one of the top two moves. If A6 comes, you're going to have to abort plan. But you have a very, 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 very powerful knight here. Alright? If knight comes out first, this is where it gets interesting. And for those of you, if bishop d7, let's go into it. Hold on. If bishop d7, queen h5, g6, knight takes d6. Okay, so queen h5 check, g6. Does that not matter? Knight takes g6, knight f6, queen e5. Not yet, but I know what you're saying. It's still extremely tricky. I'm not sure they can take that. No. That's death. This has been played. Plenty of people have gone into your line. Oh no, don't worry about it. I promise you, John, when I was looking at it, my brain did the same thing. That's how I knew it didn't work this time. I promise you, I thought of that move as well before I saw that. Because your brain, like mine, was getting excited and sees that pattern. And we've used that pattern in plenty of games before. This did look like it was pinned at one point, didn't it, before the bishop comes out. So while your brain's putting all those things together, for it to spit out this as an idea is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Your brain's working, alright? And then you found this at the end of it. Alright, you see that later. Hey, how you doing, AJ? Yeah, I'm back. Welcome in. Yeah, as long as my stream's stable, I don't care what happens. It's just, it can't be flashing, can it? It can't be flashing. So we've got a semi-stable stream. It's been tested. If it works like this, I'm happy. It's all we need. We can take the knight and play queen h5. Here. Yeah, but +4 immediately. it doesn't let you know because I put my face in the way on purpose. Hey Sledge, welcome in, man. So numbers confuse people. Numbers give people a false sense of security. I'm leaving the eval bar within view so people can see it if they want it. But this eval bar and these numbers are dangerous. It's actually +4 here. But if you knew it was +4 with this as your next move, you wouldn't bother calculating. You'd start trusting the computer because that number's so high. So we try, yes boys, get them in. We try to avoid just using the numbers because if the numbers give us a false sense of security and we switch off, we think it's more winning than it actually practically is. So this is +4. If they find bishop here, it goes from 1.7 to 4.3. But it doesn't feel like that unless you see the number. Bishop takes, B takes it once, and now it's +4.7 with Queen H5. Now the idea comes into fruition because now, I imagine, your tactic is fine. Knight F6. Now, Queen E5 check. Next move. And that's the sequence that the fish was spitting out. Okay, don't worry about it. And also, if you don't want to, I'm not bothered about that stuff anymore. Honestly, if you want to use the emotes and stuff, obviously sub away. But I'm just here to entertain, genuinely. So, I'm here to entertain and teach. These sorts of openings, it's all well and good learning a course, but you need to fully understand the position. And John was about to run away embarrassed and say I'm going to bed. His idea was perfectly fine. The problem is, if the bishop comes out first, this is no longer a definitive pin, is it? So if the bishop comes out, we just need to think before we do this tactic, all we need to do is remove that knight, yeah? And no matter which takes, imagine if this takes, it's still the same tactic. Queen H5 check, G6, knight takes G6. Don't let us be stalling on the computer as well. My emotes are pretty goated. I did spend a lot of time doing them. I did put a lot of effort into them. It just says do this here rather than play the knight trick, and I don't blame it. Right then. So what do you reckon the computer's preferred move is here? Those of us that have been in this position in a puzzle many times, what move are we playing here? We can see the eval bar, we can't see the number, and we can't see the move. So, do we take the rook, or do we play queen takes g6 check? What do you instinctively want to do? This is important because if you learn with a course, you learn with a course. But while you're doing puzzles, sometimes it's this one, sometimes it's this one. So which one is it? Take the rook. Alright, John's voted take the rook. So have a look at the games. Okay, in the games, we have a white win taking the rook, 23 versus 2400. We have a white win taking the pawn, 23 versus 2400. We have a black win taking the rook. And we have another white win taking the rook. If we go into the lower rated games, we've got rook, 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 rook. Okay? So only one person out of the database take g6. So yeah, the fish wants you to do this here. And now king d7. Hoping you can run away, I imagine, but queen f check stops that completely. Yeah? And I reckon whoever this is might have looked at this with a fish first. I instinctively hold my hands up. I would have probably taken the rook. And I would have probably taken the rook because I've done 400,000 puzzles where taking that was the wrong move. So out of a force of habit only, not actually understanding the position, this is why chessable and doing puzzles can actually be a negative thing if you don't fully understand the position, because if you get in these habits, you think you recognise a pattern, but in reality this was the best move here. So I'm really glad that we went into this line. I imagine taking the rook is still perfectly fine, but now it says +2, f7. Alright, but taking here is just instant death. Or they go here and you have this check, stopping the inevitable escape. Yeah? And they have to go back to e8. If they don't go back to e8, you see what happens. So, your issue with taking g6 is that you need to be extremely precise or black on reveals and they'll be okay. Right. So, you've hit the nail on the head. We have to be extremely precise. Now, did you even, honestly, are you even willing to enter that in your head? Or did you not want to even go past queen takes g6, king moves somewhere, and I'm done calculating because I don't like the idea of it? I promise that's okay to think like that. Because a lot of chess players ask, how do I get better at chess? But I've got a 2500 puzzle rating. It's because you approach puzzles different than you approach a game. Because in a puzzle, you just sat there working that out. But in a game, you go, hey, I don't want to calculate this because it's scary calculating. And yeah, pure instinct. Pure instinct because you built up that repetition from puzzles. So instinct as well can also be correct. And I appreciate playing from instinct, I love it. But in that particular situation, you said you have to calculate it and be precise, and you're right. But if you do calculate it, in this particular position, compared to most of the puzzles that we see on chess.com, where there's like a pawn here, or a pawn here, or a knight somewhere, this particular position, the king is so butt naked with this available check, that taking g6 is actually correct. But yeah, queen e5 and you're getting the rook anyway. So your original idea of queen e5 plays into what you want here, right? I mean, did you do that here? +1. You just text the king f7, but take your rook. So you have someone's played this. You're 2100 at this moment with that thought process, and you're in a draw against a 2300. So the thought processes are correct. A 2200 has also played queen e5 check. These games exist. They're in the database. So these lines which come out of the bishop here and take here are still equally as fun and fruitful, but the whole reason I even started this video was nothing to do with that line. It's to do with the queen. What do we do when the queen comes out? And to put simply, she comes out trying to protect that idea that we've just been through, right? And people don't develop and castle. They just try and stop that idea we discussed. So, knowing all these things, with the idea that they want to go that way and stop any of that stuff, right? Come with an idea. The fish will want you to stick a pawn here. That doesn't. You open up too much. You give black so much counterplay in the centre that it's much better to just keep this tension everywhere. And if you can, stop the enemy king from castling. Let's have a look what you're saying. Instinct to some extent is an odds game. Making good moves without overthinking the best move that can give you a position that's practically impossible to play in blitz. Correct. So that was a long way of saying, if you follow computer moves, you best understand what and see what the computer sees, or you're going to get lost in that forest. Yeah, and if you haven't got enough time to deal with it, you've had it. So rather than just learning lines and like sarcastically telling people that you know what to do in this position, no you don't, because if someone throws in a move that you can't expect, what do you do to it? The fish always expects the best response from the opponent, and sometimes you play all the moves out, defeat it down to a draw. Right, engine banned, because you presume that the best reply is the engine's reply. So the engine's reply in this position is this, but the practical reply that's equally as good and studied through the same engine told me this was perfect when it looked at it in reverse order. So when computers analyse games, they typically reverse engineer it. You'll watch the bar go from the last move all the way back to the first one. So when this position was reverse engineered, Stockfish told me it was perfect. And what I've decided to play here is this. Now, the bar's barely moved. You can see the number again in this mode you can, right? Until I've actually put work into where my camera is and stuff like that. I want this stream to be a good quality stream. So, we're here. We're not a scuffed stream, we're not a scuffed position, we're not a scuffed chess player. We know what we're doing. Now, bishop d7 again doesn't feel like the natural move here. Nor does that. But what would you play here? Take a vote as black. What would you actually play here? It's important, because if you're out of theory, if you're following Stockfish lines and you're a moron who doesn't actually understand positions, you just watch a course and you think everything's fine. Knight c3 is tricky, and it starts adding protection to this piece, doesn't it? It draws people's attention into this part of the board. Now I've got stuff coming in this way as well. So a 2600, legit rated 2600 in this position against me, played that. And if you're breaking book and they're just trying to kick you back and improve their position and think a knight can't comes here, this is where the idea comes from. This is what's going to happen. This is what I'm hoping for. People should be thinking, my king safety, my king safety. But people who don't respect what you're doing, because they follow fish numbers, who are like, me see piece in my half. This is my half. That piece is protected. I want to remove this piece. I don't like this piece. So, people who think like that, and in this position, a6 is the second most popular move, right? Bishop e7, people with brains, people who sense that, alright, this is getting a bit dangerous. I think I want to get my king into some sort of safe area. I don't like this. Add a bit more protection to stuff that might come in. You can see this as a threat. The other half of the world, bishop f5, no, bishop e6. Yeah, bishop e6. Bishop f5, I mean, you're still allowing yourself an escape route. So bishop f5 makes a lot of sense. I don't think that's a bad move, John. As such, it fails to f3. A lot of people won't find f3 because of Ben Feingold. I promise. A lot of people will struggle to find f3 in this position because you've still got a dark square bishop. f3 looks like it might weaken the position. I promise a lot of people would not find f3 here based on chess understanding until you're at least 2300 and you've got the bollocks to ignore Ben Feingold and play that move. For years I just religiously listened to Ben Feingold. Socrates pointed this out to me. Knight f7 after castles. Right, let's stay back on the main line for a second then. So knight here. And yeah, you can, those lines don't look too bad. I mean, f3 looks difficult. We'll have to see why it's so winning, and I want to understand the position rather than just look at it with numbers. So, in this position, right, I faced this move against this man. This happened, it's in the move order. So we'll go back to the actual game from the start. Right, this is the gambit. Isn't it beautiful? You're at a level of strength where you've got to start ignoring the rules in certain circumstances. Yes, pay more attention to how people are thinking, because you understand how people think at certain levels. This guy wasn't thinking. It's the 3-0 casual game, and he asked me to prove it. He asked me to prove it because that's what these casual games are about. And I, being me, because I'd looked at this a little bit, I'd skipped a move. I'd looked at this in my head. I want to do this. Then I want to do this, and if he takes back with the queen, I've got this, and if he takes back with the pawn, I've actually got checkmate. There. So, I've calculated all that, and piece hanging in 0.9. Wait till you see what happens when he takes it. Plus 2.5, and it'll only go up as it works on it. So, don't forget the first move of the sequence, like I did. I was getting so excited in this position to get what I want against a 2600 who is legit. I actually forgot to play that and I skipped a move, which is incredibly embarrassing, but it happens. So don't give the queen that square. If you give the queen this square, that's still a threat. This one's no good. Do not skip the first move. You need this tempi. The whole point being, where does she go? Where does she go and what does she do? And people haven't actually planned this out. Where does she go? What does she do? There looks horrible and fails. There looks horrible and fails. There's taken. There's the only move, isn't it? Yeah? You can go here. Are you going to go there? There are your only two available moves. The computer wants queen d8. Here, it's the same problem. It's always the same problem, no matter what you take back with. So, the whole point of this tempi, don't do that. Don't do that straight away. That's the second move of the sequence, alright? Second move of the sequence. First move, any move, second move, alright? And you need to understand again why this is so important as the second move. So if it's accepted, if it's not accepted by the way, and you do something else, you're still winning. Right? And there are still people who've transposed into this position from other gambits. I believe that was a Colorado gambit that ended up in this position, right? And again, he moved the bishop. He didn't see what you actually had in this position. You take. You've got to, right, a 1700 figured this out, but sadly lost the game. And knight a4 is uninstinctive. Looks hard to find, and now we're back into fish lines, aren't we? And this is what our computer does with this position. Ugh, disgusting. Right. What opening was this? It was the Rossau or Rossau gambit. So we get to this position. People who follow theory only play this, and they're scared of this idea. So this is an expected move order always. Now, new idea. What we're hoping for is this doesn't come immediately and we're forced to take. But if we are, we are. Alright? If this comes, we've already discussed, you take here and then you've got mad tactics eventually. Right? So bishop here. Take. Once bishop f4 now. That also looks extremely interesting. But yeah, this is a safe way of doing it. And then that's just staying there, isn't it? Yeah, and it wants f3 again here. Fish are horrible. Right. This position looks beautiful, is beautiful. Our back row is connected, all three major pieces are connected, both bishops are developed, and all we're really hoping for in this position now, to complete this position and make it perfect, we give them what they want. The beauty of this move order, and if you want to use the telling you emote, I do keep doing this, don't I? So the beauty of this move order is that says I'm threatening you. That says no, you're not, mate. That conversation that you've just had over those last two moves will make anyone, typically male, with an ego say, I was threatening you and I'm going to call you bluff. Take. They'll do that without thinking. They'll do that without calculating. It's the move order, isn't it? I'm threatening you. No, you're not. You can't play chess. Yes, I am. You can't play chess. Yes, you're right. I can't play chess. So make sure you actually can play chess. You do the correct thing and you prove them wrong, okay? Do not get too excited. Do not skip a move. Do not try and learn something based on a line and understand the position and enjoy it when you get there. Don't get too excited. That's why I lose games more than any other reason. I get too excited. And identifying that in my 30s is going to help me out a lot, hopefully. I think it's because this game doesn't actually excite me that much anymore. Once you've cracked a few things, this is some wild stuff. You need to have gone through I've played this game for 20 years, mate. This position's never been reached. No one's ever had the balls to just let that bishop drop. But because I don't care anymore, because I've done everything I need to do to prove to myself in chess, and I don't really care what other people think of me, I've got the bollocks to try this. Yeah? I've got the bollocks to invent openings. I don't care what people say. Oh, you shouldn't do this. Masters have done it for years. Masters have done it for years, and then computers came in and ruined everything. But new masters have to come up with ideas. They have to understand what the original idea was of the opponent in order to come up with these sort of ideas. Russell Emo is a perfect master as an example of that. And as soon as you start studying masters rather than following fish lines and 0 point this and 0 point that, you will enjoy the game a lot more. You'll understand it a lot more. I willingly go into positions that a computer might not like because I know practically they're incredibly, incredibly difficult to play, on shorter time controls especially. And if I'm comfortable in these difficult, complex positions, be happy, be that guy, be a gambit player, don't let anyone judge you for it. Because if you take that to master level, it's impressive. People like it. You still have the same problems you did when you first came into chess, too materialistic. Yeah, and when you... Materialistic's one thing, but again, sacrificing material for positions is another. You might even go with a sacrifice that a computer has told you is sound, but if you don't understand the position, you won't go for that sacrifice, will you? And then you feel stupid, and then you play checkers or something, or like play Risk, or just like turn it off because it annoys you. And I've physically done that. That's why I can say that. When chess has wound me up too much, I've just started playing Risk or a different game, just because. Not saying that either of those games are any less complicated or more complicated, but when you run out of ideas, you're going to fall out of love with the game. If you're just playing for material, What's the point? Are you playing for an attack? The only piece that really matters in this game is this one. Once you've captured it, the game's over. So all tactics really are based around this piece. The only forcing moves in chess come on that piece and on your opponent's turn or your turn, respectively. It's a turn-based game. Each player must make a move each turn. Zeusfang is a concept that you could really enjoy. And material doesn't matter if you can force a run into Zeusfang and give some of it back. But people aren't willing to go into those lines or down those roads because they don't see it due to the material, due to the number, or what the fish would play, right? The reason I know this line's not going to get researched, why this gambit will exist for a while, is because anyone who follows computers will only look at lines that come from here. And people will well, why would anyone play anything else? It's the best move. Because it doesn't give you what you want in the position. I wouldn't want to open this up. My pieces aren't developed. Basic chess, basic principles. This number that I'm looking at now, that says 0.8, in 5 years' time with a stronger engine, might say plus 1.5, which would make this move worse, right? Every year, engines update. They change their mind, just like your chess coach would. Right? Otherwise they wouldn't need to update it. So, if they do that, remember the psychology of chess. For real, AJ, I promise, if I'm going to say anything, listen to this. Bobby Fischer has said a little note, right? Put in Bobby Fischer's quote in quotation marks for me so I don't forget it. I don't believe in chess psychology, I believe in good moves. Right. Hear me now. I do not believe in just good moves. I properly believe in chess psychology. This pattern that I'm about to show you will work in your games. Just follow the pattern. I'm threatening you. No, you're effing not. You can't play chess. Yes, I actually was. No, you actually weren't. That's the pattern. It can be applied in many games, in many positions, in many situations. If you identify that something genuinely isn't a threat, call their bluff. People hate it. They can't